and participants. Welcome to the May 12th meeting of the City of Tampa Variance Review Board. From left, the members of the board are
Megan Cochran.
Brian Fry.
Aaron Murphy.
Todd Foltz.
Simone Brown.
and also in attendance this evening, we have from legal
Taylor Bolt.
and from development coordination, we have Stephen Eister, Lisa Middleton, and please, I'm sorry? And Sly Wilborn, welcome. Okay. There are procedural rules we need you to follow. When your case number and petitioner's name are called, please approach the podium. When you approach the podium, please state your name, address, and confirm that you've been sworn in. It seems like a silly thing, but they actually want that. So the petitioner or its agent will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. All other persons or participants wishing to speak will have 3 minutes. Then the petitioner will have an additional 5 minutes rebuttal if needed. The time periods as stated will be kept by the board. Any information such as pictures or plans that have not previously been submitted as part of the petition and that you intend to submit for consideration in support of your petition must be individually presented and accepted by the board. After acceptance by the board, you must submit the item to staff for it to be entered and made part of the permanent record. The board bases its decisions on competent and substantial evidence which is submitted and which meets the criteria required by the city's code of ordinances. Please be sure to clearly state your hardship criteria during your presentation. A majority of the board is needed to approve your variance. The variance granted by the board will only be for what is shown on the site plan and will be in compliance with any terms or conditions stated by the board. All other city codes will need to be met. If your case is approved, your variance will expire 2 years from the date of the decision. If your case is continued, it will either be continued to next month's VRB agenda or to the next available position on an upcoming VRB board agenda. If the case is denied, you may wish to have the Variance Review Board's decision appealed by the City Council. You must file a petition for review of the board's decision within 14 days of the board's written decision. You will not be able to pull any permits until the 14-day review period has passed. Your cooperation in ensuring that this meeting is run smoothly is greatly appreciated. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the April 14th VRB board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Okay. Mr. Eister. Oh, I'm sorry, Taylor, do you have something that you'd like to?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. In reviewing tonight's agenda, I'd just like to ask if any of the board members have had any ex parte communications.
No.
Let the record reflect that everybody has answered in the negative. Now, secondly, in reviewing tonight's agenda, do any of the board members have a conflict of interest?
No, sir.
No.
Let the record reflect that everybody has answered in the negative. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, swear everybody in.
Can everyone stand? Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
All right. So real quick before we start in on this first case, one housekeeping item. Due to conflicts raised by the board for the June 9th hearing, we have contacted to verify we can have a quorum on the following Tuesday, which would be June 16th. So I'd like to make a request to move the hearing date for the VRB board from June 9th to June 16th.
So the board needs to make motion to do that, or just,
Yes, that is correct.
okay, would someone like to?
So moved. Yes, okay, so sorry, can you give us the specifics one more time? Sorry, Stephen.
Yes, to move the Variance Review Board hearing date from June 9th to June 16th.
Okay, so I move to move the June 2026 hearing date from June 9th to June 16th at 5:30 p.m.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Have we verified that we can get a quorum? You have enough people say yes?
That is correct, and then also verified that If all goes well, the second alternate will be reviewed on June 4th. So that would give us an additional week to meet with him and train him on the process of the Variance Review Board.
Brainwashing in the process, right? Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed likewise? Okay, so it's June 16th it is.
Okay. The first item on tonight's agenda is VRB 2628. This was moved or continued from last month's hearing for the applicant to bring in additional elevations for the site. So the owner, we're just going to go quickly through this as a refresher, is Kevin James and Jessica Lane Beeksley. The applicant is Mark Blainer. The property address is 4510 South Ferncroft Circle. The zoning is residential single-family RS 75. The request is to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet for an outdoor entertaining space. And then this falls under section 27-156, table 4-2, schedule of area, height, bulk, and placement regulations, RS 75 district setbacks are 25 feet, 25 feet in the front, 20 feet in the rear, and 7 foot on the sides. The only previous building review in the last years is BLD 26-05-20492 for French doors. This is the map of the site showing the property, pool, and existing covered area. The area outlined in red is the proposed addition to the lanai porch area. This is a close-up of that, showing the distance of 5 feet from the rear setback. Due to it being a covered, solid roof, the requirement is it meets the full 20-foot rear setback. These are the elevations of the site, showing the extension of the existing overhang, following the same style with the rails and then the posts. This is the east elevation, the west elevation, and then from the rear, how it would look. No comments have changed since the variance request last month. No objections or no objections with conditions across the board. Right-of-way does have a 5-foot utility easement that the structure cannot encroach upon. And then this is the criteria under 2780 for the Variance Review Board. And I'm available for any comments, questions, or concerns. Do you have any follow-up? Just in case.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Mark Blanar. I'm here the address is 4510 South Ferncroft Circle. And I'm here on behalf of Kevin and Jessica Bexley, the owners. I'm the general contractor, and I've been sworn in.
Okay, is that your address or is that just the representative?
That's the representative's address.
And what is your address?
Okay, 4412 West Lawn Avenue, Tampa, Florida.
Thank you.
As Stephen stated, so we went through a little design iteration to provide the family some more outdoor living space. There was 2 options, one to go on the right side of the house, one to go on the left side of the house. Can I pull up the site plan? There was another site plan that I sent that was newer. Don't know if that's got in.
I think I just have the overall and then the elevations.
Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But so I'll continue. We looked at the left side and the right side of the house. I do have a photo of the rear yard, the backyard. So you'll see the existing structure right now as it stands. So we wanted to avoid the grand oak tree. It's a 48-inch grand oak tree on the left side of the house. And if we went to the other side of the pool, we'd have to add pervious to the square footage of the lot. With this being an area that flooded recently, we wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that, and we didn't want, obviously, the more we can do to eliminate adding pervious to the lot, obviously helps out the surrounding community. So we identified the existing structure and decided to pull that roof line kind of towards the back of the house. The unique hardship is the irregular pie shape of the lot, and where the actual structure is existingly shown, or where the actual building is still shown, or the original house. That's the best option we had to provide that addition. The other piece there was the grand oak tree, right? We wanted to make sure we preserve that. We understand the city, doesn't want to remove grand oak trees, so that's definitely something that was thoughtful in our consideration for design. So this was the solution that we've provided. As you can see on the, let's see if I go back to just PC. So we thoughtfully approached this just to add a covered, kind of outdoor living space. The family's growing, they're outdoor people, they want to enjoy their pool area. It gets hot here in Florida. So this provides more shade, more ability for them to entertain their family. And then the homeowner also acknowledged that they'll never enclose this space. It's going to 100% be outdoors only. It'll never be conditioned space. So I know that was something that got brought up last time, and we've confirmed that with the owner. So the ceiling's going to be 8 foot tall. I know that's something that came up last time too. So it's going to kind of match the existing roof line that's at 8 feet and kind of extend out towards the property line. So that's our request to move it from 20 foot, the rear yard setback from 20 foot to 5 foot. It's a 224 square feet of addition. So it just kind of almost doubles their outdoor patio space that they have, or covered outdoor patio space that they have now.
Does that conclude your presentation?
That does conclude.
Questions from the board? Okay. Anyone here to speak for or against? I see somebody. I guess not. Okay. Anything else you want to add in rebuttal?
No, I think I'm good. You guys have any questions?
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Hear from the board.
I think this shows what you were missing before.
It
Just
does.
kind of an idea of where it's coming off from the house.
Mhm.
How it's coming off the house.
I think you did a good job explaining all of our questions.
I think so too, and it's nice to be able to save that big old oak tree on the lot, so.
I have a question for the applicant. Is there gonna be a door that leads to this outdoor, like a patio? Cause when I was looking at the pictures that you had, it looked like there's the AC. But is there a door that's gonna come out so they can get up there? Or is there already a door?
There's already a door, so if you look at this east elevation, there's double doors that come out of the main house.
Oh, okay.
And that brings you out. Those AC units, since it's in a flood zone, they have to be elevated.
Right.
So they're already up on that existing roof. Those are just staying there. This will never had any AC to it. This is just feeding, that AC unit feeds the entire main house.
Well, sorry, I guess what I meant was from the house to that upper deck, cause it looks like it's got fencing around it, like this is on top of the.
That will not be, it's a roof up there. It will not be a deck.
Okay.
It's not accessible.
Okay, so they're just continuing the design that's already
Correct.
up there, but it's not something that they can access from the house?
They can't, it'll be a
Okay.
roof, and it's like a mechanical platform right now, if that makes sense.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Get some more rebuttal on if you want it.
you do, I'm sorry, the public hearing had closed, but we always want to make sure everybody understands your intent. So do you have any rebuttal that you'd like to add, since we kind of sort of opened the public hearing without really opening the public hearing?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, all right, ready for a motion?
All right. I'll move. I think they already, started the site plan that way. They can't vary for the site plan.
Let's do it this way.
Go ahead.
Okay. I move that the variance request for case VRB 26-28, located at 4510 South Ferncroft Circle, as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing, for a request to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet, with the following condition: that the property owner does not enclose the extended entertaining space and deck. That said variance, as conditioned, be granted upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that this is a uniquely shaped lot. There's a 48-inch grand oak in the backyard that takes up a substantial portion of the other side of the yard. And if they were looking to increase entertaining space, this is the location in which they would need to do it.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call a question. All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed likewise? Passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next case.
The next item on the agenda is VRB 26-06. The owner is Eric Pormund. The applicant is Suncoast Permits. The property address is 2906 West Bay Vista Avenue. The zoning is residential single-family RS 60. The request is to reduce the screen enclosure setback from 5 feet to 2.5 feet. The code section of reference is section 27-290.5. Schedule of area, height, bulk placement regulations for screen enclosure setbacks. All screen enclosures must meet the following setbacks from front line, same as required front zoning yard for a zoning district, from corner lot line, same as underlying zoning, from side lot line 5 feet, and from rear 5 feet. The previous action is BLD 26-05207776 for the screen enclosure, and BLD 25-051673 for the pool. This is the overall site plan, or overall map showing the property located. This is the site plan submitted showing the pool that is here that was rebuilt after the storm. The screen was being replaced, triggering the compliance with the 5-foot setback, even with the jut out of the pool, creating this 2.5 situation here. I'll let you guys read through that. This is a close-up of that same measurement here. The screen enclosure meets the 5-foot setback on the rear and the left side. Natural Resources had no objections with conditions. Transportation, wastewater, water, right-of-way, stormwater, and TICO had no comment as of 5/1/2026. All other departments had no objections. This is the criteria under 2780 for the Variance Review Board. And I'm available for any comments, questions, or concerns.
I have a question for you before we get started.
Yes.
On this site plan, the side yard setback looks to be 6 feet 6 inches or 6.6 feet?
Yes, so due to the jut out right here, the house is at 6, or the screen enclosure in this back corner is at 6'6". The house is an older house, but because of how the screen enclosure bumps out to follow the line of the existing pool,
Mm-hmm.
the pool is actually probably right at 5 feet. So to put the screen enclosure back in, it's bumped out. The pool did not receive enough damage, I believe, during the storm, so it could be rebuilt in its existing location. The screen enclosure, because it was damaged, triggered the major renovation requirements for the screen itself, meeting the 5-foot setback.
Okay, I guess what I'm asking is the home doesn't meet the setback requirement there in and of itself, is that correct?
So for this situation, yes, but because the home is pre-existing and nothing is triggering
Mm-hmm.
that for the home, the setback can remain at the 6'6".
And if we grant this, it will stay at 6'6"?
This variance is only for the screen
The screen,
enclosure.
okay, so I just want to clarify that.
Yep.
Stephen, I have a question. How old is the pool? I mean, just because obviously it's grandfather, it's not pre-existing, non-conforming.
Yes, so I think the applicant can expand on that more. From what I saw in Acela, the original pool permit is old enough not to be in the Acela system. Same with the screen enclosure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir. And then the document camera's ready for you too, if you need to show anything.
Okay.
on
I'm the homeowner of 2906 West Bay Vista Avenue. My name is Eric Pormand, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to answer your question about the pool and the home itself. So I purchased the home in 2021. That pool was built at the time of the house build, which was 1997. And the original screen enclosure was also there from that same time frame. And what happened was, is like he alluded to, we had some storm damage, so I rebuilt it, but I made it purpose to not expand the pool. I didn't change the shape of the pool. I didn't do anything like that. And this has some very odd angles, and the cage went around that pool, and all I'm doing is literally replacing the cage in the same exact spot that it was before. So I didn't change anything other than replacing the screen enclosure.
Okay. All right. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yeah, unless you have questions.
Okay. Questions from the board? Nothing? Okay, anyone here to speak for or against?
I have one question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I
Did the
didn't
whole
realize.
screen come down? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No one here to speak for or against? You have rebuttal if you need it. Anything you want to add?
No.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and hear from the board.
I think it's crazy it's taking this long to be able to rebuild it. It's too bad.
Yeah, well,
And he has to go through this process to do it, unfortunately. So,
sounds like you're ready for a motion.
all right. I move that the variance request VRB 26-6 for property located at 2906 West Bay Vista Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the side setback for a screen enclosure from 5 feet to 2.5 feet with encroachments for using gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent substantial evidence of the record, the public hearing that an unnecessary hardship and practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that this is an existing location damaged by the hurricane and he is merely seeking to replace it in the same place.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oops, sorry. Opposed likewise? Your motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is VRB-26-24. The owner of the property is Batty Ventures LLC. The applicant is Crescent Homes. The property address is 5102 West Platt Street. The request is to reduce the green space from 25% of the total lot area to 15% of the total lot area. The code section in reference is section 27-284.3.3, table 27-284.3.3. Single family detached has a minimum landscape area of 25%. Previous actions is BLD-26-05233604 for a generator, BLD-25-05178991 for a pool, BLD-24-05083988-17 for a new single-family home, and for FDN-25-150 for a lot split reconfiguration. This is the overall site showing the RS-75 and the house that is under construction at the time of the satellite images. This is the site plan showing the property, the completed house, the pool, and the green space calculations. The lot is a 11,568.34 square feet. The planter beds make up about 1,822 square feet, creating their 15% green space they are currently providing. The remaining green space or remaining areas of the property have the pool, a additional parking area here, and this is artificial turf in the front and side yards. The right-of-way is all grass and sod. Natural Resources had objections. The proposed green space is located within planters. Based on the submitted document, a lot size of 11,658.3 square feet requires 2,892 square foot of green space. The site currently has 2,065 square feet of artificial turf and 1,822 square feet of planting beds. Transportation, wastewater, water, right-of-way, all had no objections. Stormwater had no objections with conditions. The on-site use of artificial turf and stormwater design must be approved by the City Construction Services Department. The proposed trench infiltration system shall provide any emergency overflow to the right-of-way to avoid flooding the adjacent property. No runoff shall be directed to the adjacent properties. The site is within a flood zone AE, and add current flood zone information including FEMA firm and data to the plans at the time of construction. A minimum distance of 1 foot from the bottom of the exfiltration trench to the seasonal groundwater elevation must be maintained. Show the SHGW elevation at the typical sections. For the city's trench drain requirements, please refer to the City of Tampa's Stormwater Technical Manual, section IVIVD XXII, exfiltration systems. Add a construction note to the plan stating stormwater improvements in the city right-of-way shall comply with City of Tampa Stormwater Technical Standards, Chapter 21 of the City of Tampa Code. TECO had no objections with conditions. The section under variance for review power for this criteria, even though it is green space, it still falls under the general 2780, not under the typical review criteria for trees and other things like that that are natural resource related. I'm available for any comments, questions, or concerns.
Stephen, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes, sir.
So, just so that I'm clear, the planters are not considered green space,
So the planters do get counted towards that
Okay.
as long as they are planted.
as long as they're planted.
Correct.
So of the 2,892 square foot of required green space, it's about 1,070 square foot shy because of the turf.
That is correct.
Okay, thank
And
you.
there's 1,822 square feet of planters.
Of planter beds.
Along the front here,
Yep,
down here,
Yep.
and in the rear,
okay.
and in the front here too.
And this is one home on this lot,
That is correct.
and it has 2 driveways into the lot?
I will let,
Okay.
yes, there is 2 parking areas, but I will let the applicant
Okay.
expand more on
Okay,
that.
all right, thank you.
I wanted to ask too if I could submit, we had, got the
Wait,
letters.
time out.
Hold on.
What are the
Oh,
rules?
sorry. Hi, this is Calvin Beatty, owner, 5102 West Platte. I'm the actual homeowner. It was originally built by my company, but it's our personal residence.
Okay,
Um,
and,
we had gotten.
and,
Oh, and I've been sworn in, sorry.
thank you.
Documents ready for you.
Okay, so I can just put documents over here. I was told to hand these to you, I guess, because we got, letters yesterday given to us from opposing neighbors, and so we wanted to respond to that,
We
provide
have- we
some
do have-
additional.
Are these in addition to what we have?
Yes,
Oh,
we wanted to provide some additional site photos so that you can, for context.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll start with this first.
You've got it pulled up?
No, this is like different.
Okay, so I respectfully, request the variance reduction from 25% to 15% or just over 15%. The hardship is inherent to the corner lot is the first thing. We were required to put sod in both sides, being it's a corner lot, so we added significant sod to the property, as you can see, on all sides, all the way down. We also made, instead of using pervious concrete, we did pervious pavers. The biggest frustration for us on this is that this is being treated, I think, by the neighbors incorrectly as an afterthought. This was initially engineered and designed and approved this way. We had inspections for this turf prior to asking for this variance. We were under the understanding that we were in full compliance. The the engineering was approved by civil plans provided by our civil engineer. They were by Eric Hendra and Hendra Associates. They were permitted, they were stamped, they were inspected. We had site inspections on this. We went to extensive additional investment to create pervious turf, not impervious turf. The difference is impervious turf, they'll use a compact concrete base, which makes drainage much more difficult. What we did is we used a limestone mixture that was under the direction from actually Dave Jennings, who heads this entire department, told us exactly what to put for this turf. And then we had it inspected. We installed the turf, and the city then realized that the code had changed after the fact. Used to be that turf was recognized as green space, and as long as it was done with pervious intent, and that code has since changed. So it's no longer recognized as green space. So the frustration for us is that we went to all this work to make sure that we're in compliance with the city. We had adequate drainage. Right now, our drainage has been inspected. There was a lot of talk on our drainage. That's been done. It's been completed. It's been inspected. The only thing left for us to finalize our house is to decide whether I have to now go to the expense of ripping up turf that I was told that I could put down and replace it with planter beds or more sod, which I'm already maintaining, or if I can leave my turf as is. So that's my request. It's not an afterthought. This was something that we tried to be compliant and went to extensive work to make sure. I think the neighbors, one of the neighbors had mentioned that they were bringing our adjacent lot behind 5102. That lot was permitted. It's in full compliance. The concrete sports court was also permitted and in compliance. That's a separate permit issue and was closed and not an issue. The only issue at hand right now is the variance request for reducing from 25 to 15.74.
Does that conclude your presentation?
It does.
Okay, questions from the board?
I have a question.
Go
You can go ahead. When you were in discussions with Dave Jennings and the building department, did they not advise you that the code was going to be changed?
No, this was something I don't think that anybody really realized that it was, that it kind of shifted, that it wasn't acknowledged. I think they were kind of surprised. They actually recommended that we file the variance. They think they felt bad for us in the situation. Because they know that we went through a lot of work to make, I spent significant investment. The difference in making it pervious is double the cost and to inspect it and then to be told after the fact. Now, had we known this, we would have just put, planter beds and done, obviously we planted thousands of feet of sod in the right of way that we were maintaining and taking care of at our expense.
Stephen?
And they don't give you credit for that, even though it's property that you're maintaining and doing.
Because it's not yours,
Right.
it belongs
Yeah.
to the city.
Yeah, as far as green space that you added. We also, as you can
What?
see, we planted a lot of mature trees all over the property.
Stephen, is there anything in writing that references the code being changed and the code being changed during the process of him being permitted and going through all this?
So right now, from what I know on the site, from my review from the zoning side, is the site has a temporary TCO until the green space percentage is addressed. I know the code defines green space as landscaped area or planted area per section 2743.
Mr. Jennings hasn't been with the department. He's employed on his own now. Is that not true?
No, that is, Mr. Dave Jennings is still there.
Okay.
I think you're confusing with the other Dave, who is now a private contractor.
Is there any,
Thanks.
is there any correspondence that you have between you and Mr. Jennings that he affirmed that the pervious,
Well, there's email correspondence in the letters that I've given that telling us what to do and acknowledging he was involved when we were installing it. We literally called Dave and said, "Hey, Dave, we want to make sure that we install this properly so that we don't flunk inspection. Can you tell us what materials to use?" He responded back in writing to our operations manager, Lindsay Bennett, hey, do this, Lindsay, this is what it was. And he also confirmed with text with me. I was working with him as well. Then we had Ryan with the city, the inspector, come out and inspect. All the impervious turf, or the pervious turf has been inspected on both properties. It was inspected by the city.
Did you submit that correspondence?
Yes.
As part of this,
Yes,
between you and the city?
yes.
Am I missing something?
I haven't seen it.
I don't see it.
I have a question. Is the plan for the other properties on the block to also include turf, or are those gonna have, and I'm just curious, because, I mean, they have similar design features.
I'm sorry, on.
There's more homes that are being built down the block, it looks like, by your company. Are those also gonna be,
No,
With
those
turf?
all have sod. The main reason that we did turf, quite frankly, for our family, my daughter and my wife are extremely allergic to grass. And every time my daughter gets out, she gets bit by no-see-ums, swells up, and, it's just, so I don't want it in areas where they're gonna be playing. And so, she's 11, they're at home quite a bit, and so that's the whole reason we went to the expense of doing it. But no, we're big, honestly, we're tree huggers. One of the other houses down the street, I redesigned it 3 times to save an oak, which I was told just to tear it down. And I'm like, no, I really want to save the tree. We spent an extra 3 months in permitting just to save the tree. So we're not about like tearing down trees, and this is really a lifestyle thing. We object to the excessive use of water. We're being told all the time not to water our yard because of water shortages, and then with turf, it's a great solution. We're not watering areas that we're not using.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Your property's like almost a quarter of an acre, give or take, in size.
Correct.
Why are there so many driveways in paved areas? I'm not even questioning the turf
Well, those were 2
versus-
existing driveways. There were 2 existing driveways that were there on the site, because it was an old house that had flooded. And there was a driveway on the Ward side, and then there was a driveway on the Platt side. And so we just kept both. And we did them as pavers instead of concrete, so that they, again, would be pervious.
That makes sense. I guess it would be easier for me to make a decision if I saw the correspondence. It's not here. I don't see it where Dave Jennings said, do this.
And also, I think, and this is for staff and possibly legal, if something here is hinging on a code change in language, I feel like maybe we should be somewhat more aware of what that is, so we can understand why the variance, because I do
agree.
think that this one's unique, and it would set a precedent that I'm a little bit weary of, because so many people want turf. And if we're regulating against turf, I would not want to set a precedent. You can just get a variance to get around it.
Well, it's a pretty substantial decrease from 25 to 15. I mean, sometimes, someone will come in and say, well, it's 22, we're real close, but this is a big change. You're cutting it almost in half.
Well, I also want to be clear too, this isn't about advocating against or for turf for me. It's about the area required by code to be pervious, right? That's my issue. I don't care about turf, I don't care about it. I'd love to see where the code changed, when it changed, and what the correspondence was between the applicant and the city that said for him to do this, that this would be recommended, because that seems to be the conflict right now, is that something changed during this process, but I don't see anything that says that, and I don't see anything in correspondence that between the parties that gave him the permission to do this.
If you review in the letter that I gave, you'll see that the civil engineering plans includes sheets. These are part of the permit set of record. The C001 and C100 sealed May 29th were reviewed and approved by the City of Tampa, site approval Ryan Taylor on June 30th. Natural resources approval by Michael Lewis on June 18th. The approved civil plans explicitly include typical pervious artificial turf system detailed.
Madam Chair, if I may.
This is
Yes.
page 2 of my letter that I gave you in the packets that I provided.
Okay, I'm sorry, our attorney has a,
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it sounds like that the board is looking for some additional information on this application. One, with regards to the correspondence with the individuals that were helping the applicant with permitting, and two, with regard to the code change that occurred regarding the regulation of green space and whether or not turf qualified that or not. If that is information the board is interested in receiving, I would suggest maybe a continuance to a later meeting so that
Agreed.
myself, Stephen, and the applicant can work on gathering the correspondence and seeing what prompted this code change and when, if that's something the board is interested in.
I would be.
Yes, I think that would be very helpful, just to be able to have enough information to make an informed decision. And I just wanted to relay to the applicant that, you know, this is very helpful, and I think you've put together a nice packet, so I do appreciate what you've provided. Because it's giving us some insight, but we just don't have all of it.
No, I understand. It's, you know, I think the initial letters that were sent in by Lindsay detailed the email correspondence, I believe,
We
between
don't
Mr.
have, I mean, I appreciate that you put this on
Yeah.
here, but this isn't to me, this is not official. It's parsed out from something that I would just love to see that has someone's official information on it as correspondence between you and the city, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing to answer that, though, would be the records of the permitted documents
Correct.
that are stamped, that show clearly in the document records that this was, a turf system was intended and was part of this, which is under the civil sheets C001 and C100.
Correct, but I also want to make note, you know, we're not plans reviewers, so if something was on a plan, and what we really need to know is that the department said what the department
That's all I
said.
wanna know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
That's all I wanna see is
appreciate where
something
you're coming
official.
from with what a plan says, but I think what we have to go by is what the department ultimately.
That's what I would like to see.
And I think a continuance would be in your
I do
favor.
too.
'cause you
Yeah,
don't
no,
have to
I
rip up
understand.
stuff
I
on
get
this.
it. It's just been, we've been going on in this thing for a while, and I've been trying to get it resolved. And
I understand. This is the first time we've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, we were shocked, I mean, quite frankly. I mean, to go this far, we would have easily just put a planter bed for another 1,000 square feet and called it a day.
I have a question for Mr. Eister. This 25% requirement is for green space, not pervious space, right? Those are two different codes that they're trying to meet?
That is
So the
correct.
perviousness does help towards permeability of the soil, or?
Correct.
But
The-
it doesn't count towards a green space?
That is correct. So the stormwater review is where the 50% impervious comes in. And then there's the smaller percentage of green space, which is 25%. So we're not here about the stormwater issues. I think those are,
Those are already done.
this
Inspected.
is about the green space.
Gotcha.
Or landscape area space.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything else has been inspected and approved by the city and
Okay.
and is in compliance.
All right,
So if this continues to be for June 16th,
or do we have room on the agenda on that day?
I will be out of country, but I can have somebody come and speak on my behalf.
We can request it to do 2 months if you.
Yeah,
if
you
better.
can request 2 months, it's,
Let's do that then, please, because I'll be in and out, be traveling a lot
Okay.
this summer.
July, what's the date? 14? Okay. All right,
all right, someone want to make
I
them?
can do it.
Please.
I want to move that the variance request for case VRB-26-24, located at 5102 West Platt Street, for a request to reduce green space from 25% to 15%, be continued to July 14th, 2026, for a public hearing at 5:30 PM.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Guess we'll see you in a couple months.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Email. Yeah, we can email. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is VRB-26-35. The owner is Mark Flom. The address is 4525 West Swan Avenue. The zoning is residential single family, RS 75. The request is to reduce the rear yard setback from 5 feet to 3 feet for a screen enclosure. The section in reference is 27-290.5, schedule area of height, bulk, and placement regulations. Screen enclosure setbacks. All screen enclosures must meet the following setbacks: from front line, same as required front yard for zoning district; from the quarter lot line, same as underlining zoning district; from side lot line, 5 feet; and from rear lot line, 5 feet. The previous action is BLD-24-0505-761, which is a pool permit. This is an aerial view of the house showing the RS-75 in the current conditions of the property. This is a overall site plan of the house showing the reduction from 5 feet to 3 feet. Here's a close-up of that, showing the new screen enclosure will go here along the existing pool deck. Natural Resources has no objections with conditions. Transportation, wastewater, water, right-of-way, stormwater, and TECO all have no objections or no objections with conditions.
Okay.
Here's the criteria under 2780. I'm available for any comments, questions, or concerns. You can put them face up, just like how you would see them.
My name is Mark Flum. The address is 4525 West Swan Avenue. I am the applicant and homeowner, and I have been sworn in. So I'm just trying to follow your criteria, and I do appreciate the opportunity to present to the board. The proposed project and the variance request summary. The proposed project is the installation of a relatively small screen enclosure over a relatively small pool area. The house was constructed in 2017, and the pool is close to today's setback of 5 feet to the rear property line, which is essentially a vinyl fence. We need the variance of 2 feet to ensure safe access to the pool by everyone, but especially small children and or grandchildren. This request is not due to a code enforcement or a building permit action. The variance request itself, pretty straightforward. Reduce the rear setback from 5 feet to 3 feet. All other setbacks are in force and unaffected. The uniqueness of hardship. We purchased the home in August of 25 last year. The in-ground pool is built in such a way as to not allow the proper installation of a screen enclosure with the existing setback. The 2-foot variance would improve conditions to allow for safe access to the pool as well as ongoing maintenance to the pool and grounds. While this is a unique hardship, this is not a special privilege, as many properties in the area or neighborhood have enclosures that go right to the property line, obviously pre today's setbacks. And including the home adjacent to mine on the east side, whose enclosure rests on his property fence line. Negative impacts. 0 impact on neighboring properties. None. I want to show the 2 pictures at this point. You have them in the record, but so that is the east view of the site. There we go. This is really intended to show the mature foliage. Pretty much is why I can make the claim that there's no impact to the neighboring properties. This is the west view. It's actually a little bit northwest. Similar look and feel, pretty mature on trees and foliage. The health and safety of the principal property will be enhanced as already noted. The variance request is not caused by the applicant. The house was constructed in 2017, as I mentioned, on a relatively small lot. I was made aware of the requirements by the company I engaged in late 2025 to do the proposed project. Both them and I want to be in full compliance legally. Substantial justice being done. The purchase of the home represents a large investment, obviously, and the installation of a quality screen enclosure will enhance the safety of the area significantly and help preserve the investment. We prefer to legally secure the pool area in a way that does not affect or harm any neighboring properties, and in fact enhances the principal property, especially in terms of safe access. Tampa Comprehensive Plan, I've reviewed the 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan. The neighborhood is in the West Shore District, according to the plan. The plan calls for beauty and safety in several areas of the document. This variance request enhances the safety of a single-family home with zero impact or negative implications for the neighborhood, specifically, and South Tampa in a more generalized sense. This variance request is within a single property, so density, which is a large concern of the comprehensive plan, is completely unaffected. I think that's all I wanted to present.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation?
Say again?
Does that conclude your presentation?
That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yes, sir. First of all, I want to say I appreciate your podocarpus wall because mine looks exactly like that except for what the freeze took out. Is the wall going to stay? Is the wall of podocarpus going to stay?
The vinyl wall?
Yes,
Yes.
the trees, the foliage.
All of that's going to stay.
So
The only thing that would potentially come out is the hedge to create the room to do the
Well, that's
work.
what the hedge is not staying.
The hedge, I'm not that far yet, but I
Okay,
would
that's
anticipate
fine.
that the hedge won't stay,
Okay. Okay, thanks.
just because of the space requirement.
So will there be a fence on your yard besides the hedge? Is there a fence behind
Yeah,
it?
there's a fence behind it. There's a very nice vinyl fence right behind it, which encloses the entire property.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question for Stephen. And maybe the property owner, but I figured staff might know this. Was this already is it non-conforming because it's not meeting setbacks? Or what happened to have the pool in its current placement?
So the pool, per the code under 27290, has a 5-foot setback from property edge. So if the pool is set back at 5 feet, when you want to come in and do a screen enclosure, it cannot be at 5 feet as well. So it creates this conflicting issue like we have here, where you need the 2 foot of separation to put in the footer in the screen enclosure and still have access to the backside of the pool.
So is that 5-foot setback allowed per code?
That is correct. That
Okay.
is allowed per code.
But he didn't put the pool in.
He did not put the
Okay.
pool.
Right, it's existing, but that's what my question was really. It was, did it require a variance to begin with? Like, it doesn't
No,
seem.
It
as
did
though-
not. It
Okay.
met, there's no other pending variances
Yeah.
on the site or that allowed for that pool to exist in that location.
Okay, thank you.
We need to have a pool fence 101 for the installers of these things, because every month we have at least one,
Yeah.
a lot of times more for the same
A lot.
reason. So we understand your plight here. Any other questions?
I do, there's one letter of opposition here from your rear neighbor. Do you have any idea why she's objecting? She just said she's objecting.
No, she wrote a letter, which I got just yesterday, and it has nothing but I object. It has no explanation. Doesn't even border my property, so if I speculate, maybe it's just a matter of record. I don't know. I really haven't talked to her. I don't know her. But I did check out her property. I cannot see her property. She cannot see my property. She has to go through 2 properties of trees. So I don't think it's an objection from any harm that would be done to a view.
Yeah, I was thinking buffer, but I don't know. She doesn't line up with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we,
We don't have to go any further in that direction. I was just curious
Well,
if there's knowledge on that.
I was gonna ask if there's anyone here to speak for or against.
Speak for the objector?
Yes.
Oh.
Nope.
Seeing none, unless you have rebuttal, we're closing the public hearing and hearing from the board.
I have nothing.
What Ms. Brown said, no, I don't think there's anything to rebut there.
Okay, well, thank you. Then the public hearing is closed and the board, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion.
I would like to make a motion that I move
So here we go
the variance request for case VRB 26-35 for property located at 4525 West Swan Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan, presented at a public hearing for a reduction in the rear setback from 5 feet to 3 feet for a screened enclosure based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty in considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the existing pool meets setbacks and there is no way to install an enclosure with footers without encroaching into the setbacks when a pool does meet the setback. That the additional space around the pool is good for the safety and maintenance of the pool. It does secure the pool area from neighbors and anybody else. There's no public health or safety issues, and it is in line with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, we will call the question. All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed likewise? Your motion passes.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is VRB 26-43. The owner is Broadway Holdings LLC. The applicant is Kevin Bynum. The property address is 5507 East Broadway Avenue. The zoning is commercial intensive and industrial general. The request is to remove, that's got messed up. The request is to remove 2 grand trees and reduce tree retention from 50% to 7% for a expansion of the industrial use that is present on the property. And then we'll break that down due to the typo in the PowerPoint. This is the current site of expansion. The owner, as we'll see as the site expands, this is the current folio where the grand trees are located. There is one here and one here. And we'll do the expanded. Just to show the tree survey first, to break it down, there is a tree located in the northern portion of the property right here in the red circle. I know the numbers are pretty small, so we're gonna go into each grand tree detail by detail. Grand tree 1 is a laurel oak, 36-inch multi-trunk with a canopy measurement of 44-inch by 48, or 44 feet by 48 feet, with a condition of C5. The mitigation for this tree is 6 mitigation trees at 2.5-inch DBH. This is the tree survey for tree. This tree is located right in the dense vegetation area here. This vegetation is a mix of invasives. It's a little low lying, so it's a lot of different types of laurel oaks and pines are mixed in there as well. I went to the site. The arborist report outlined the tree, this tree here, but it's very dense vegetation in that area. So that's why there's not a clear photo of the tree, because you couldn't pick out the tree from all the other trees surrounding it. This is the tree number 2, which is just outside the parcel area, which is still owned by the applicant. This is grand tree 2 right here. This one is also a laurel oak, 35-inch DBH, canopy measurement of 42 by 53. The condition is a C5. The mitigation is 6 mitigation trees at 2.5-inch DBH. This is the tree here, which you can see kind of how densely the vegetation is in that area. And this is how it looks going through that whole parcel. There is a small access road due to their current use of the site. This is the overall view of that area. The grand tree number 2 is located right back in here in this area of the vegetation. This is the overall site condition that they would like to do. This is tied to an expansion going lower from the property where additional rails are being added for the process of recycled materials such as concrete and things like that. So this is pushing the storage area north into that unimproved parcel. This highlights the grand tree here, and then this is the second grand tree here. This is another reconfiguration showing how, nope, that's the proposed plan. There we go. This is the proposed plan with the trees overlaid on it, showing the road that is required for the turning radius for the large trucks that are coming in and out of the site, which the applicant can expand on additionally, showing how they're gonna circulate the site and then go back out. And then this area here is reserved for stormwater and other retention areas. This is alternative site plan 2, which shows a reconfiguration of the road to go up, around, and then curve around the grand tree down here next to the building. This also splits the stormwater pond, providing a radius, the protective radius for the grand tree. This is a large site, so I'm sorry everything is so small based off that. But this splits the stormwater pond in half, showing here with a connector pipe, and then connecting to the other stormwater system. This is the other alternative site plan. This shows basically the same as the other one, but it shows a different configuration of the stormwater ponds to provide that area for this grand tree here, and still keeping the curve around the grand tree down there. So Natural Resources has objections. The only objection I don't have an objection to, I want to make sure I'm clear. I don't have an objection to the tree to the south. These are both laurel oaks. They are more susceptible to construction and things like that. The building configuration of the proposed warehouse and the future warehouse, in the large amount of grading, I don't support preserving that tree that close to that building with all the improvements and truck traffic. The tree more north and to the right here, because it is located farther away from all the improvements, is the reason for the objection. The criteria as outlined in the code talks a lot about preserving trees. What we can ask for, and because of the tree not being located near a building or many other targets, the risk rating would remain lower than the one next to the building. Right now, neither one of these have a high target rating due to there not being any improvements in those areas. So they're not being currently utilized. It's just woods at the time. Transportation had no objections. Wastewater had no objections. Water had no comment. Right-of-way had no objections. Stormwater's objections were due to the stormwater ponds being shown on the proposed plans for the reconfiguration purposes. But at the time of permitting, they will have to provide full stormwater details, not just this will be our pond area, this will be our pond area, to summarize the 6 comments that are up there. And then this is the criteria under 27284.2.5 for grand trees. And then it will also, the standard criteria for the tree retention will fall under 2780, which is the hardship criteria. So you have both criteria playing a role in this case. And then the applicant did provide a PowerPoint, which I will bring up.
Good evening, thank you. Ivy Clinton with VHB, address is 501 East Kennedy, Suite 1010, Tampa. And I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of Kevin Bynum, the civil, I was sworn in.
Thank you.
Here to speak on behalf of Kevin Bynum, the civil engineer. I'm the landscape architect with VHB. We also have Candace Augusto here tonight. She is with TransCore Recycling, which is a company under the Broadway Holdings LLC. So she can speak for any questions that you might have for the owner. Are you all, okay, here we go. So I'm going to start a little broader view of the site. It is located off of East Broadway, just east of 50th Street, and it's bounded to the south on the CSX rail line. And actually there are rail spurs that go into the site. It's a large commercial intensive industrial, processing plant essentially for recycling construction materials. So the current operations include shipping on those rail lines, but also trucks that enter through a weigh station, large construction material that's broken down and reprocessed and reshipped out for new construction projects throughout the region. Additionally, there's materials such as steel that pass through the site, and the owner wants to propose expanding their operations. Stephen mentioned adding new rail lines and spurs to allow for increased recycling capabilities here, but that does end up pushing, I'll go back a couple of slides. Down in the south area, you can see large piles of material. So it's a really large operation. They need a lot of land area just to do this processing, use the processing equipment. So it relocates about 4 acres worth of that material piling and maneuvering that they need to either do more efficiently or open up more of their property. So that's what's proposed here. There's also proposed a 30,000 square foot storage warehouse, so that allows them to expand into materials that need to be inside the building, as well as a small office with associated parking for staff on the site. The stormwater requirements, basically are going to follow the eastern property line to allow for as much open area in the middle of the site, again, to provide those large land spaces to facilitate the processing of the material and the hauling out of these, large truck radiuses that have to maneuver through the site. So this shows a enlarged plan of the kind of that expansion area. You'll see in blue, that's the stormwater ponds. The site slopes north to south, so these are tiered ponds that flow along the eastern property line. There's also through drainage that goes through the site, so a 25-foot easement is being reserved on the eastern edge for City of Tampa to allow that off-site water to continue through. There's a small area of wetland in the green, and that would be coordinated and mitigated for separately through EPC, so this variance does not include those trees in that location as part of that 50% reduction. Let's see. So again, the variance requests are for the 2 grand trees that Stephen outlined. I'll go in a little more detail. And then the reduction from the 50% to 7%. This is a pretty unique project in that the building itself isn't the driver of what needs to happen on the site. It's the maneuverability, it's the large area they need to create these piles for the recycling of construction materials. That really drives needing to have a clear area and expanding their industrial operation. Going into, so the trees that are being preserved are shown here in green, including one grand tree along this northwestern boundary here. So the first grand tree is the G4, shown here with the dark black line being the protective root zone, the green line being its rough canopy. As Stephen noted, it's in a dense wooded area right now, so it's hard to determine its actual canopy shape, but the arborist did note that it was around 71 by 77 foot spread. And then there's some other ratings that he gave for that tree. The second grand tree, G6, is more of an oblong shaped canopy. It's on the edge of the existing wooded, as Stephen showed earlier. And then we did look at some alternates, site plans, configuring the stormwater ponds pushing the larger pond to the north, allowing for a green space to preserve the G4 tree, and still tearing down the stormwater along the eastern side, maneuvering trucks, and basically no storage would happen around the G6 if it was to remain. This significantly decreases, it's at a 15% reduction in usable storage area and maneuvering area for the property. And it also increases the stormwater pond to the north, which is the uphill side, so it makes it a little harder to get water to. There'll be a little more excavation and grading and drainage, grading that's needed in that location. Alternate B, as Stephen showed before, again, it increases the northern pond and decreases the middle pond, but it allows for a space around G4 to be preserved. This one has a slightly less loss of open space, about 10%, but it still pushes the stormwater to the north, which has an increase of fill and pipe lengths to make that work. Hardships, it's a unique business operation needing a large clear land area to perform construction material recycling, plus circulation of large equipment and access to the rail lines for shipping and receiving of material from the region. It's not self-created. The site design is driven in part by the natural grading of the site to locate stormwater basins and the operational requirements for an industrial construction material recycling facility. It does not offer adverse off-site impacts by keeping on-site stormwater, continuing to allow the existing off-site water to pass through, and keeping this type of industrial use confined to one contiguous site. It's in harmony with the comprehensive plan, which states that it encourages the continued intensification and existence of industrial warehousing and distribution facilities, which supports sites such as this. And substantial justice in supporting the requested variances. These industrial zone properties become viable for the type of uses and operations that would reasonably be expected to occur within this zoning, and allows for the growth of this regional recycling operation. That ends the presentation. Both Candace and I are here to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I've got one. I think this might be more for Stephen. What you're talking about with the laurel oaks and possibly saving the tree up on the northeast side, moving the ponds around, digging deep holes, building retaining walls around them, putting pipes to connect the ponds right next to the tree beneath the root zone, and giant trucks driving next to said tree. Would that not have a similar impact as the one to the south?
Like the applicant said, the site is unique.
Yeah.
And the building is located on the other side. If you look under the criteria for grand tree removal, it speaks almost purely and directly to building location. There is not a building location here, but it does not mean the other considerations could not be taken into consideration by the board.
Okay.
I also have a question for Stephen. Excuse me. You know, just kind of understanding this industrial area and how many other sites are functioning on their properties. Have other sites had to undergo, because at some point there was a lot of brush, it looks like, across many of these parcels. This just seems to be one of the last remaining where it hasn't been just outright cleared. Have other parcels had to undergo these same, or do people, I mean, my question is, are we preserving other trees, or are we just?
So this area is unique. Again, like the applicant said, like they have a wetland on site in an industrial area. I think it's, if I remember correctly, I think when I looked it up, it is poorly rated, but this area is low along Broadway. So if you look down Broadway at the other projects that are still going on, or the large industrial projects that are going in, they're very densely vegetated with laurel oaks and other maturing lower level canopy class, if you wouldn't say, like it's, you have levels, so you have like oak hammock, which is like with your nice live oaks and palmettos, have a higher tier than say lower level wetland, low growth laurel oak type area like this is. So as these trees come out, we are getting mitigation for them. Mitigation is not being waived. If you also look if you look comparison of the laurel oaks compared to the live oaks, because of their susceptibility and age and things like that, under the grand trees, there's different percentages. So a live oak is at the 90 to 70%. Then there's a mid category, then there's a low category of grand trees that we base for mitigation. Laurel oaks are in that lower category. That's why if you would see, they only have like 6 mitigation for one of a grand tree, which is quite low.
Right.
And that's because of that, we tried to factor in the quality of the tree overall. So if say these come out, they'll be putting new plantings in, I believe. Correct.
Yes, all other portions of the landscape code would be met.
And then they can use those mitigation numbers to put in better quality genetically and species-wise on site. That's outside of the transportation area.
Do you happen to know the approximate age of both of these trees?
So I know laurel oaks typically live 40 to 70 years. With this size and mature growth, they're probably between that end range of 40 to 60 range, because they're mature by 40. They've hit this grand size. So then you have about 20 years or so to enjoy all the benefits. This looks pretty vegetated for a long time, from aerial views and things like that. But again, because it's so densely vegetated, even like going back in aerials, all you see is vegetation. It's hard to pick out those singular canopies.
Question for the applicant, is there, it looks like there's a easement with the city of Tampa on the east side of this property. And my question is that gonna maintain like a buffer between the two properties, or are we just, cause it says proposed 25-foot city of Tampa drainage easement, not included in the variance request, but is that gonna keep like a strip of vegetation on the side of the property, or what is that going to allow for?
So that, I mentioned that there's through drainage that currently goes to the site by the city of Tampa. So this allows the city to coordinate with the owner to reroute or use that drainage easement in the future to continue, drainage patterns from the roadway. So unfortunately, a number of the trees that are in that strip are of poor quality, or they're on the edge of the strip, so they would get disturbed just by the grading needed to build the stormwater basins. So we're proposing saving the majority of them. Let me go back to the image here. We were able to save kind of 3 higher quality that would be in between the 2 ponds, and then 1 here at the south. That's kind of right on the property line that could probably stay and withstand some of the construction activities that would occur at a future date in that easement. So it's not truly going to stay vegetated or act as a buffer. The adjacent property is currently an industrial, auto parts kind of scrap yard function. So does that answer your question?
It does. I was just picturing some kind of buffer remaining, and I couldn't tell from what the image was, so I thank you for providing some clarification, because yeah, it looks like they go right up to their property line, unfortunately, with storage.
Is that area a ditch right now, or a low-lying for the easement that you've given there? Is that for them to put a ditch in to transfer water?
It would, I believe, be a piped condition going into a swale. It's ongoing. This is preliminary design. We wanted to ensure that we could do some of the things that we wanted to do before going to a full design package, and that's being coordinated with the city. Candace, I don't know if you want to speak any further.
Candace Augusto, 1501 East 2nd Avenue, and yes, I've been sworn. Just to kind of answer the question there, if piping would be done along the property line, I don't know, but they can't see my finger. Where that green dot is on the right-hand side, like currently on our property, when it comes down, that is like ditched, and then it goes to the, you can't, it's not even on here, it goes to the right and then goes into a creek area, and there's a creek that runs on the back side of our property, which then goes out to the Hillsborough River and then out to the bay, because we go under the main line of CSX. So currently the water flows to that creek through a pattern on our property now through like sideline ditching. And so this would be more of a formal of getting water off of 54 and to the right and down formally. Because we have on another section of our property, we have 2 twin 48s that we put in. That is all the water that's coming off of Broadway and has been coming off of water, and that goes under our property into the creek as well. Does that help answer the question?
does.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone here to speak for or against? Anything else you'd like to add before we close the public hearing?
No, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. It's the board's pleasure.
I mean, I speak for myself, I think that the construction process and what they're trying to do in the area is gonna be very difficult on these
On
trees,
anything.
on anything. I like the fact that they're gonna be not putting it into a bank, but replanting on site, higher quality, better species that can grow and hopefully flourish in the area.
I think they're giving it a try.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and.
I mean, what
It
this,
would be, it's a better solution than trying to, if we save one of the trees and we lose half of the replants, and then that tree is gone in 2, 3, 5 years, we're not gonna reap the benefits of the other plantings. So I don't see a positive to saving these rough quality trees.
well, this
in-
entire
in
area,
lieu of
it's,
having new ones planted.
just looking at the picture of the vegetation, it's like this little square, well, it's a big square, but amongst all the industrial activity that's going on out there, the chemicals, the big trucks, the exhaust, like everything, nothing about this to me seems conducive to a healthy environment for tree growth. And I admire that they're wanting to even save what they're trying to save. I do wish that we could, with as far as retention or mitigation, that we could, say, hey, can you try to put more out there? But it's like, to what end, really?
Yeah.
I have no problem with this.
Sounds like you're ready for a motion?
Yep. Should I?
Well,
Okay. This is a tree removal one. I have so many papers here, hold on.
Here you go.
Oh, I have it, it's amongst all the things.
yeah, there's a lot of paperwork.
There is.
Real quick,
Made by
Brian.
trees.
I'm sorry, sir.
Real quick,
Yes.
Brian, for the board's pleasure, it'll be 2 motions, please.
Oh, 2 motions?
Yes, one
For
for
each
green
tree?
tree removal,
Okay.
and then one for retention.
The retention, okay. And the retention, that would be for the variance, right?
That is correct.
That would be for an approval without conditions, right?
Correct.
That would be the second one. First is tree removal, then
The standard.
the standard
The
one.
tree retention one would be under the standard motion language.
Mhm.
Yes, okay, that's
Right-
what I was
right
asking.
there on the screen.
Yep. Okay, I move that the variance request for case VRB 26-43 for the property located at 5507 East Broadway Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for the removal of 2 grand trees based upon the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 factors for determining tree removal as set forth in section 27-284.2.5 T4 of the city code. For granting tree removal, specifically that the evidence provided in the record showed that the site, for what it is used for as far as industrial, is not conducive to the retaining of these trees. The applicant is trying to maintain some area of tree growth out there within the entire area, but it's simply not an area that's conducive for these trees remaining.
No
Second.
motion, second. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion as stated, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed likewise?
Okay, number
Motion
two.
passes.
Move that the variance request for VRB 26-43 for the property located at 5507 East Broadway Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a request to reduce tree retention from 50% to 7% upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that this is an industrial area, it's a very large industrial area, and for the necessity of building the warehouse for the trucks that come in and out of this facility as it relates to the recycling of construction materials, that it would be very difficult in this area to have much more retention than what they are requesting.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so close.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda, VRB 26-51. The owner is Lucan Sengman. The applicant is Sims Handy LLC. The property address is 3415 East Henry Avenue. The zoning is residential, single-family RS50. The request is to increase height from 15 to 18 feet for an existing garage. The code section and reference is 27-290, table 4-2, schedule of area, height, bulk, and placement regulations. Accessory structure setbacks are 60 feet from the front, 3 feet from the rear, 3 feet from the sides, and 15 foot in height to peak of roof. The previous action on this site is BLD 26-052171 for garage improvements. This is the overall site, showing the garage here in its bottom corner, and then the existing home. This is the site plan submitted. This shows the accessory structure off. Here's the main house, the accessory structure. All other setbacks are being met. The issue came about when the BLD was submitted to improve the garage. The height of the existing garage is 17 feet 8 inches tall. It was constructed back in the 60s, but because of the substantial improvements occurring to the garage, it triggered full code compliance. Natural resources, transportation, wastewater, water, right-of-way, and stormwater all had no objections. TICO had no objections with conditions and provided a memo. This is the criteria under 2780, and I'll be available for any comments, questions, or concerns.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Fanord Simeon, DBA Sims Handy LLC. And my address is 1205 East Henry Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33604. And I have been sworn in. I would like to ask you also, please bear with me. I am foreign. I have a heavy accent. Hopefully, you can understand me. And my son bought this property in January 2024. And they built this garage in 1965, I believe. But when he bought the property, the garage, they use it as storage. They had not used it for, the garage, any cars, anything. And he decided to do some improvement on it. And this is the reason we are here. And we have a building plan. Everything is okay beside the height of the garage. And as Mr. Stevens showed y'all, the height, it requires from 15 to 18. Right now, it is existing at 17.8. Therefore, as for us, we'll not do so many things in the exterior of the garage. Most of the improvement will be inside of the garage. Therefore, we like to ask you guys, please, if you can allow us to improve this structure, it will be good for everybody, because right now, a lot of storage, before they storage a lot of trash, debris inside it. It's not because they were using it as a garage, really, but we want to improve it, and the only issue that we have is just the height. We'd like to ask you, please, if you can help us with that, we'd be appreciated. That is it.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Just to reiterate quickly, you said that the garage was existing, it was built in the mid-60s.
1965.
And it was built at this height. This is not something that your son improved upon or anything during his ownership?
No.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone here to speak for or against? Seeing none. Anything you'd like to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, and then we'll close the public hearing and hear from the board. Yeah, 1965, I doubt most of you guys were even born then, so. And there you have it. I think, I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
All right, well, in that case, I would like to make a motion that the variance request for case VRB 26-51 for property located at 3415 East Henry Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for an increase in height from 15 to 18 feet on an existing garage with an encroachment for eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-8 of the city code, specifically that this was an existing garage from approximately 1965. This was most likely approved and planned and built within code at that time, and now it is slightly taller than it should have been. This is not a self-imposed hardship, and that there are no health or safety issues for the neighborhood and is within the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed likewise? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stephen. Okay. You want to take a quick break until he returns?
5 minutes?
Yeah.
It's up to you guys.
Well,
That's up to you, Madam Chair.
well, I'd like to hear him present the case, so I don't want to, yeah, unless you want to do it, and I certainly don't, then yes, let's give him a minute till he comes back. Yes, sir.
On to the last item of the agenda for tonight is VRB 26-60. The owner is John and Abigail Reynolds. The property address is 3301 West Eileen Avenue. The zoning is residential single family, RS 60. The request is to reduce the side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet, reduce the vehicle entrance setback from 10 feet to 3 feet, and reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 3 feet. The code section in reference is section 27-156 Table 4-2, schedule of area, height, and bulk regulations of RS60 district setbacks are 25 feet from the front, 20 feet from the rear, and 7 feet from the sides. This is a current view of the property under RS60. This is a close-up showing the setback, the 25-foot setback, 7-foot side setback, and then a garage that is covered with an addition, a room addition, triggering the principal structure setbacks. The driveway is also coming off of South Deltura. It has a right-of-way of 21 feet 3 inches, and then it has as a total backup distance from garage face to road. This is a close-up of that site, showing the reduced setbacks. Natural Resources had no objections with conditions. Zoning Natural Resources has no objections with conditions. At the time of construction, additional natural resources changes and requests can be made. There are some existing trees on site, so I wanted to highlight that. So at the time of permitting, those could be addressed if there is any conflicts. Transportation has no objections. Wastewater has no objections. Water had no comment. Right-of-way has no objections with conditions. They have no objections to the request contingent upon approval of a release of easement. Application REE 2618. The application is currently under review, and at this time, the City of Tampa utilities exist within, no City of Tampa utilities exist within the area proposed for the release. Stormwater had no objections with conditions. For the site building permit, add construction notes. Add construction note to the site plan. Development shall comply with City of Tampa Stormwater Technical Standards, Chapter 21, City of Tampa Code. No runoff shall be directed to adjacent properties. And then TICO didn't have a comment as 5-1, but then submitted a memo yesterday of no objection to the request. This is the criteria under 2780, application of variance power. And I'm available for any comments, questions, or concerns.
Hi, good evening. I'm Abigail Reynolds, the homeowner of 3301 West Saline, and I have been sworn in.
John Reynolds, also homeowner of 331 West Saline. I have not been sworn in yet.
And forgive me, how do you pronounce the name of your street?
You know, we don't know, so if you could tell us, that would be great. I think it's Aline.
Okay, sounds good to me. Thank you.
He has not been sworn in.
Correct, no. Yes, I do.
Thank you, board, for meeting with us tonight. A little backstory, we just purchased this home in December of 2025 to accommodate our growing family, which includes young children and also aging parents, and we are taking them into account when designing this space. We plan to add additional space that includes an attached garage, but we also very much want to preserve and protect all the grand oak trees on the property and maintain the integrity of the 1958 ranch-style home that we purchased. I want to tell you a little bit about this lot. This lot is very unique. I don't think it could be compared to other lots in the area for a few reasons. The specific location is on a corner lot, but it's also a small block size. There's only 2 homes within the block on that corner lot. It also has some grand oaks that are located along the perimeter, which make it unique, particularly with the location of the home's placement adjacent to the oaks, but also the home's location on the lot itself. The home was built in 1958, which obviously predated the current setbacks, but it's also set very far back on the lot. So we are doing our best to accommodate that and have our needs met, but it is a hardship with the way that it is set. Additionally, the home's lot is 0.2 acres, which is pretty good size. It absorbed an old alley in the back that, as Stephen indicated, did have an easement, but there are no utilities back there, so we are in the process of eliminating that easement. Additionally, on the sides of the lot, there is an extra wide ditch on the side that adds a pretty significant buffer space of a few feet between our lot and then Datura Street. Datura Street, if you don't know, in Bayshore Boulevard is a pretty sleepy street. There's not a lot of traffic on it. Essentially,
our garage would be facing Datura, and it would be facing homes across the way who have no objections to this construction. In meeting with the City of Tampa Planning Committee and also an arborist, it's really determined based on the placement of the home that it's not feasible to add a garage to the front, and I can show you why with some photos in a minute. We have a pretty fairly large size electric guy wire situation because it's the end of the street in front. And then additionally, as Stephen indicated, we have rows of grand oaks along the side that we want to preserve. And so that, in addition to the fact that the home is recessed a lot in the lot, there's only 10 feet to work with, that pretty much puts our garage here in the back corner of the property. I'm going to show you additionally some photos of the home just to give a better understanding. So this is the front of the home. Here's the guy wires. Unfortunately, Tico's unable to move those significantly. I've tried, but we're at the end of the row. There's no electricity in the back, so we're kind of stuck with those in the front. Also, there's only about 10 feet in the front to work with, so it's not really feasible to put a garage in the front. Give a better view of the property on the corner lot. Same scenario here. This is a really healthy tree. We want to do our best to preserve it. We love these trees. It was a huge reason why we wanted to purchase in this area. We love the old home. We're doing our best to accommodate it with the constraints and hardships that are provided with this. So just to show you, this is Datura Street right here. This is where the garage would be, where the shed's located. And then this is West Day Lane on the front. I went a little crazy printing photos, but I wanted to give a pretty good understanding of how much extra width that ditch adds, and to show that there's an existing culvert and kind of a natural driveway in the area that we located that we would be adding in the driveway. Here's a closer photo. And then here's just a kind of a perspective photo. So this is our home's location and then the neighbor's existing home. As I indicated, sorry,
Can I
what?
ask a question? Or?
Sure.
Can we let them finish
Yes,
their
okay,
presentation?
continue, I'm sorry. I
Oh, no,
thought
you're fine. As I indicated before, our plan is to maintain the home's original character. We have no intentions or probably bank account funds to demolish the whole thing. Instead, we'd really like to preserve the home, protect the trees, but we do need to make the square footage larger. The attached garage is for the reason of having an elderly parent move in with us, and we're gonna pay attention to the ADA compliance, and also we don't want an outdoor walkway between the garage and what will be an in-law suite for them. I also want to note, I think it's important to notate that this is a pretty common occurrence in our neighborhood. It only took me walking 2 blocks in either direction to find some other homes that have done similar things. This one's brand new. Unfortunately, they cleared this lot of all the big, beautiful trees, but you can see they have an attached sidecar garage with a car parking there. This is a much busier street than what we would be doing. And then this one is on the same block as ours, and this is actually on the same street, Datura. This is an attached garage that extends kind of a similar scope to what we would be doing as well. Do you want to add anything?
Just to add, John Reynolds, 33-1 West Alina.
He did say that before.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to address some of the specific, so in terms of a unique hardship, just to clarify, as my wife said, the corner lot has a rare combination of that limits the garage placement, including the large culvert, the multiple grand oaks that we're trying to protect, the original 1958 placement of the home, So there's really only one reasonable location to place a two-car garage on the property without impacting those trees or the footprint of the existing home, while also trying to add an in-law suite for an aging parent that would be ADA compliant. In terms of this not being a self-created hardship, the hardship is inherent to the property as it existed when we purchased it. So there not being a garage, it having a unique layout in terms of where the house sits on the property, the protected trees in the city of Tampa. And so buying a property with known limitations is not a self-created hardship under Tampa precedent. So we did not cause those constraints. We're trying to preserve the existing home and trees rather than tearing it down and rebuilding it. In terms of substantial interference with health, safety, or welfare, we want to place the garage as far as possible in the back corner with the doors facing to Tourist Street, which minimizes our impacts on our neighbors. The exit of the garage onto that less busy internal street, the width of the existing ditch and the culvert, allowing an adequate backup distance for a vehicle exiting onto the road.
I want to add on to that we met with Jonathan Scott for a pretty significant amount of time, and not only was he okay with the backup distance, the driveway there, he suggested some of our numbers for us, indicating that the additional space that we received from the ditch would come into play, and he indicated that he had seen driveways that were much closer and had absolutely no problem with this plan.
In terms of harmony with a comprehensive plan and the intent of the code, this supports preservation and modernization of older homes while trying to protect trees in the neighborhood of Bayshore Beautiful and in the city of Tampa proper, while adding functionality for us in terms of parking, storage, bedroom, and living space for an elderly family member without changing the neighborhood character. And in terms of substantial justice, denial would really leave us without a reasonable way to add a garage while preserving the home and the trees. So it would force us to really make an impractical choice or face tear down of the existing home, which we really don't want to do. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Does that conclude your presentation?
Actually, is it okay if I say one more thing? This thing is
kind of
beeping
out
at
of
me.
time, so
So no.
go ahead.
You'll have rebuttal time also.
I just wanted to make sure you all understood. So we haven't done a full-scale plans with the architect, and the reason being it's so expensive and it takes so long. We just have the garage, so we added in this intended kind of like room. It is our intention to do an in-law suite for my father, and we do need to make it ADA accessible, but I just wanted to let you all know we are planning on doing a revision. We just don't really know the scale, and we don't know the price
Okay.
yet, so. Okay.
You'll have rebuttal time, so
Okay.
you're good. Okay, questions from the board?
Can I just to further get just a little more clarification, on the site plan that you have right now, which is rough, correct?
Correct.
It's rough, okay. My eyes. The proposed concrete garage floor, where that is that a garage or an ADU?
It's a garage. It's an attached garage, and Stephen had us go back and add in this to show that we plan to have it attached. The plan right now, and again, this isn't full plans, is
Sure.
to do like an in-law suite for my father with a ramp from a wheelchair to
Okay.
a covered two-car garage.
So the garage, your plan as of right now, even though there really is, you would not build above the garage. The residence, what you want to build for your relatives would be that addition, which it's not a breezeway. It would be an addition to
Correct.
the home leading to the garage.
The current ask is a two-car garage.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So it's a two-car garage, but is there livable space above it? No height?
Not at this time.
Okay. And the driveway, it's a two-car driveway?
Yeah, I believe so, right? Yeah.
To fit two cars like parked next to each other?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, just out of, my question earlier was, would the driveway, because I know that there's city approval provided in not many comments, but that culvert is confusing, so would it line up directly with the culvert, or would it would the culvert have to be manipulated to allow for the placement? It looks like yes.
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't quite, so the back alley was absorbed and it was supposed to be 3 feet on one side of the road and 3 feet on ours. But the culvert that's there it doesn't quite even out. So we would have to add a little bit of space and manipulate it. And I have a picture to try to show. It doesn't look like it was divided right down the middle.
And also for Stephen, would that be something the city had to build because is a portion of the culvert the right of way?
So as far as the culvert goes, if the property owner wants the access over that ditch when they have an access point somewhere else, they will have to get permits to do it, but they will do the culvert to bridge over it.
Who will do?
The
applicant?
property owner will do it, the one who wants the access over the culvert,
Okay, yeah,
or
so
over the ditch.
permitting wise, cause that's what, cause it's like, it sounds like it's two parts, like you'll get your driveway permit likely, or you would get permitted to put a driveway there, but in order to put the driveway there, there's gotta be a culvert under it, and then it looks like it has to move or at least be adjusted, cause like, it just
I
wouldn't
think they're gonna
line
have
up.
to adjust it a little bit to the left.
Sure,
Yes.
extend the existing culvert.
Yeah, okay, I appreciate it, I just was trying to
It's
picture
hard,
it.
that's why I had so many pictures, because the property is so big. I also wanted to make sure you guys understood, like, we're not stealing this entire ditch. There's drainage involved. They didn't have any issues with it, but it's a really big space. So even if we did have to, move it over a few feet, I don't think it would compromise the integrity of the structure.
Can you put the other picture back for me,
Sure.
please? Yeah, so, the sign that says bad dog, that is your side, correct?
We have a really good dog, though.
And the double, okay, the double door, that is the neighbor?
Correct.
Behind
This is the
you?
property line here.
Okay, and so my guess is that the culvert was there because of the, alley.
And let me show you another. I have a few aerial photos that
Sure.
might be helpful now also. So this one shows, let's see, I think I might have cut off the side. This is our neighbors, this is ours,
Okay,
and then this back way is what was absorbed
Okay,
in the
yep.
alley.
all right.
Should I show this one?
So they vacated, the city vacated.
That one shows Datura.
And you can
Yep.
see Datura better
So
on this
the-
one. So
Sure.
this is the neighbor's house and this is our house.
And here's the existing culvert that would need to be extended in this direction.
Yeah, thank you.
And to answer your question, Brian, real quick, not to interrupt, the alley was vacated, but the easements were not released.
And
So
if
the
I had known
easements-
about the easement release before today, I would have done it already, but we
Oh,
started.
okay. So the easement still exists in the rear of the house?
That is correct. That was the no objection with conditions
Oh,
from the
gotcha.
right-of-way
Oh,
department,
okay.
that those easements would have to be released.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so, but in that can you put that picture back up for me, please?
The aerial one?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. This
So
one?
in that picture,
Yeah.
no, the other, yeah, scooter, yeah, there you go, okay.
Too bad.
So the easement hasn't been released, but they're clearly, the house behind them is right up, there's a pool.
There is, and these people have a garage.
There's a
too.
whole lot going on back
Yeah.
there, right? So each one of these folks has had to get permission from the city, right, to absorb that easement?
I don't think the easement has been closed out. That's
Oh.
why it still is existing.
So when we purchased the home, there were
my.
telephone poles back there too.
Someone just missed it.
Whoops.
Yeah.
But it was-
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
But as the
Okay.
applicant said, just to clarify,
Okay.
it was a smaller alley to start with, it was 6
Yep.
feet. So it's only 3 feet of easement on each side.
On each side.
So typically that would not impact, say, a garage with a 3-foot
Right.
setback. So
But it's clearly
hopefully,
gone.
per plans and per review, there shouldn't be anything existing within that easement.
There should not be,
There should not be.
but there is.
I can't confirm nor deny.
Oh, I can see it.
There, I
There were
think
legacy.
I can
my
confirm.
thought would be that it would be a case-by-case release, like I think each property owner would do
Sure,
what they
but that's
can.
precedent right there.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay.
There was also a row of poles that were telephone poles when we purchased the property.
Okay.
And I filed the abandoned pole form.
In the rear?
in the rear,
'Cause it
and
was
they took
utility
down
easement.
the whole street, had them, and they're all gone now.
Okay.
And so I had a statement, there's no electric back there, there's no water, there's no sewage, and that's why we started
Makes sense.
the easement release,
Yep.
today, so.
Welcome to older neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you put it back, excuse me, hi, over here. Can you put back the photo with the, excuse me, with the, gate, with the dog sign? And that's existing right now? That's how it looks now? And then the two double-sided gates, that's the actual, that's the neighbor's, gate? Okay.
Any further questions? Okay, is there anyone here to speak for or against? Yeah.
Evening, Eric Page of Schutz and Bowen, 4301 West Boy Scout Boulevard. We've heard about the neighbor's home and the double gate and the
He
culverts
did,
and the
but,
pool. and-
I'm sorry, were you sworn in?
I was sworn in.
Thank you.
That's my clients, Rick Nutter and Meredith Nutter, who are with me.
Okay.
Because this is the last hearing, because of the importance to my clients and because of their proximity, I'd request a couple extra minutes.
I don't know that we can do that, and
I would say get going, and then we'll figure it out
Yeah.
when it starts beeping at you.
I'm gonna move as fast as I can. Out
Please.
of respect for the hour. A couple points on the applicant's presentation. I heard about meeting with an arborist. I heard about grand oak trees. There's no competent substantial evidence that those trees need to be protected. If they met with an arborist, they probably should have gotten a report, and they probably should have made it part of their application. They speak of not being able to put the garage in front. Tico can't move the guy wires. The guy wires are in the southwest corner, per their own pictures, which would mean that they have not investigated whether in the southeast corner they could put that garage. They speak of needing to make their square foot larger, et cetera, et cetera. One of the questions was, are you gonna build above the garage? Well, the problem here, one of the biggest problems here is whether or not they build in front of the garage or not. If you grant this variance to reduce the side setback down from 20 to 3, they could sell it in a week after you grant that variance, and the next owner could do that, and they could build up to 35 feet in the air. And if you need confirmation on that, I'd encourage you to ask staff. They also spoke about it being a common occurrence in their neighborhood about these driveways and such. We got no addresses on that. We got a couple of pictures. I don't think there's any competent substantial evidence to establish if those were variance or based, or if those were existing non-conforming uses. Ultimately, what they did is they bought a house that doesn't have a garage and doesn't have an in-law arrangement, and they want to impose on my clients significantly by reducing the rear yard setback from 20 to 3 feet. There's no justification for that. Moving through some of this.
Pardon the interruption.
Sure.
Mr. Page,
Yep.
Madam Chair, to the.
Yes, sir.
To the earlier inquiry about extending the speaking time for individuals during public comment, the rules of procedures state that public comment is typically limited to 3 minutes each. However, per the rules of procedure, the Variance Review Board can alter these rules for a meeting by an affirmative vote of at least 4 members of the board. So if the board did wish to allow Mr. Page some additional time to speak, they could make a motion to waive the rule and extend the time, but there would need to be an affirmative vote of 4 board.
What if we
members.
don't want to extend
They
the
don't-
time?
You don't have to, but
All
just
right.
wanted to let the board know.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Please
you.
keep going.
Could also the neighbors grant their 3 minutes of speaking time to their attorney each?
They're the only neighbor here are my clients.
Well, that's what we're
with
saying.
me.
Yeah, well,
That's
they
already
still
in your
have, they
plan.
still
They
have
could
time.
each stand up here 3 minutes apiece, but they could grant their time to you if you needed additional
I
time.
think you get 1 minute per,
So it's normally 1 minute per additional person, but I know there's also normally there's a separate sheet that is like required to have the individual's names
okay.
filled out.
Why don't we let the gentleman
Let's just-
do his thing, and then if we run into issues, then we'll discuss that.
Thank you. Thank you. Variances are only warranted when there's something about the property that's unique and singular and that the uniqueness or singular status causes a hardship or particular difficulty that is not self-created. I think the board knows that very well. We submitted materials. I'm not going to go through all of them because I don't have time to, but I will note that the lack of a garage is not some sort of hardship. The lack of a two-car garage is not some sort of hardship. There is, as can be seen on the sketch that was submitted, 37.1 feet from the northern point of the existing structure to the property line shared with my clients, and they want to move their setback an additional 17 feet beyond the 20. They've already got 17 feet to work with, so we don't feel that that's at all appropriate. There's ample room back there. There's also no evidence that this is a historic home, and I'll get to that in a minute. Basically, the subject property is incredibly similar to the other properties in the neighborhood. We submitted 12 property record cards.
And I apologize, your time is up, and I'm not sure how we take care of that. It wasn't, because they have.
Pause when you were talking? I don't think it was paused.
I'd like to make
Oh, okay.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the speaker an additional 3 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, you got
3
it.
minutes.
Very much appreciated. 12 property record cards are submitted and in the record. All of these properties of these 12, they're all in the neighborhood, they're all across the street or right next to or sharing a property with the subject property. All the properties are zoned RS60. The subject property square footage is greater than all but 2 of those 12 properties. All but 3 of the 12 residences were built in 1958 or thereabouts. The subject property, like all the other properties shown on the property record card, is rectangular. Nothing special about it in that regard. The subject property has typical tree coverage, as everyone can see from this aerial. And again, no competent substantial evidence that any of these trees need to be protected. I don't believe these trees have any impact on using the footprint of this lot to install a garage. I would encourage you to ask staff about that if you want confirmation in that regard. And you can also see on this aerial, this is West Aline down here, the red dot representing the subject site. All these homes are set back basically exactly the same from West Aline. There's nothing unique about that whatsoever. The applicant's stated desire not consistent with the conditions that support a variance, and granting the variance would interfere with the safety, harmony, and aesthetics of the neighborhood in addition to having a significant negative impact on my clients. They have a code-compliant pool that was built. They did not need any variances for that, and granting this variance down to 3 feet in the rear setback will allow them, the applicants or subsequent owners, to build up to 35 feet in the air. There's no evidence they can't put the garage in the front. The precedent here would be extremely dangerous, and I can't see how every property owner in this neighborhood couldn't come in and basically ask for the same thing. The culvert that was discussed and shown is shared with my clients, so there's some issues in that regard. And again, to look at what was submitted, this rough site plan, that's where they want to put it, right next to my client's property, but there's been no explanation why they can't put it there by West Aline Avenue. I appreciate the extra time. I've gone through this as quickly as I can. I probably missed some of the important points in the materials that we submitted, but I'm also happy to answer any questions.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Out of respect for the time, yes, it does.
Thank you very much. Okay. The applicant has rebuttal time.
Do you mind confirming how much time? Is it 5 minutes?
3 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to reiterate, I'm not an attorney. I'm just a mom. I didn't know we were on trial for this until this morning when this objection was submitted to us. I also have an arborist report I'm happy to include. Nobody asked me. We had a pre-variance meeting with Stephen, and we also have the protected grand oaks listed on a survey, which I can show you guys right now. They are protected, and it was indicated to us in person that we would not be able to build within them.
I don't know if this will show. But there's a in that southeast corner that Mr. Page was referring to, there's a 40-inch oak tree there, and there's a So that would, I believe, preclude being able to build a garage in the southeast corner of the property.
And I have pretty heavy documentation with Tico also trying to get the guy wires moved, and I can provide any of that if needed. I just also want to include that I'm happy to get the addresses for the homes provided. I didn't realize that we had to do it. I think we have done a good reason in seeing the other variances tonight, or a good ability to show that there is a hardship that was not self-inflicted. And we really feel as though, according to what's set forth in the bylaws, that variances exist precisely for properties with unique constraints that prevent reasonable use. Many homes in this neighborhood have similarly modernized for variances with compatible additions. And the proposed setbacks uses the back corner of the lot with the garage door facing Datura. It significantly minimizes the Nutter property to the north. Nobody on the other side of the street where the garage would face, where we would be pulling out, had any issues with this. Any future plans about height and elevation is speculative from their injection report, and it's also outside the scope of what we've asked for. This is a hardship that we seek a variance for, which is approved largely from the city of Tampa, given the pre-application staff input and the neighborhood precedents of similar homes. Again, I have those addresses if they're requested. Our recent purchase of the existing lot reflects our desire to make this our family's home and to utilize the unique conditions while gaining reasonable use for our needs. We feel that this proposal is modest, tree preserving, and compatible with neighborhood. I just want to remind the board, this is our property. This is 0.2 acres. Our neighbor's property, 0.19 acres. So we actually have a little bit larger of a lot. We are not the ones coming in, cutting down all the trees, building on every square inch of this property. We are trying to preserve an older home, preserve the trees. Whether or not the city would tell us we can cut them down doesn't matter to us. We would like to keep them. And it's just, I don't really feel like we're overbuilding in this scenario.
In terms of this is the Nutter's home in the rear. The garage would be on our property right in this area here. So the height of a two-car garage without an elevated structure or without living space above, which we're not proposing at this point, would be far below the existing roof line of their property, of their structure, abutting the rear of our proposed home. And here's another view of that as well, just to give an idea about the size and the scope of the structures we're talking about.
Also, we didn't add in there because I didn't think I needed to, but in our meeting, our pre-variance meeting with Stephen, we did go into great detail about not being able to put this garage on West Saline. As I mentioned, the home sits 10 feet back. Whether that's standard for the neighborhood, I don't know, but for us in our unique house, we cannot build a two-car garage when there's only 10 feet of space in the front of the home and electrical wires on this side and a protected tree on the other side.
And just to reiterate, I don't believe there's any impact to the health, safety, or well-being of the neighbors to our rear by approving this variance.
I'm not closing, the board has a chance to ask questions here.
Sure.
I'm just asking if you're ready to take questions.
That's the next step.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
Yes.
we've concluded.
Quick question for you guys. On the variance request, would you be amicable to a condition that the structure cannot be 2 stories? That would remain a garage with no livable space to be built above it?
So we've talked a lot about that. We have no plans to do 2 stories now. I have no idea who's gonna live in this house in 10 years or 15 years down the line. That's not our intention. I don't know. I mean, we haven't even put together the plans for it. I mean, that's not our ask right now, but down the line, if there was a desire for whoever lives there, whether that be us or the next homeowners, I would think that it would have to go through the proper channels for building permits and variance hearings. And I just feel like that's maybe a decision for the future. That is not our intent. That is not what we're asking for. That is not what this variance request is for.
So you'd be okay with the condition?
For this particular variance,
Correct.
yes.
So in the future, if someone else wants to do something, they would have to go back and.
They'd have to ask for it.
They'd have to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, And I was gonna piggyback off that thought, because what we have is, everything we decide is contingent on your site plan. So what you gave us is all we have. It's not, it's a rudimentary plan. It's gonna give you your footprint, but if we allow that condition to exist, which I'm very comfortable with, and I would also recommend, it's going to at least just give you the distance in which you can build. It's just, without more plans, it's harder for us to approve more, I think, because everything we say yes to it's contingent with the
Yeah.
site plan. Does that
Stephen,
make sense?
And I have a question too as well.
Yeah, oh, no, Stephen, what is the height restriction there? Would they be able to go higher if that were ever the case?
This one has, this one has a two-story garage.
Okay, I understand
I
that.
know, but we're-
We're just asking for the code.
Yeah, yeah.
But they may not have done what the code allows.
So with the reduction in setbacks of primary structure setbacks,
Uh-huh.
which is, I think, kind of the main topic everybody's
Right.
talking about. If the setback is reduced from 20 feet to 3 feet, the site plan shown with those encroachments would be able to build the primary structure size. So
So
the
35
feet in
feet.
height.
So we,
If-
okay.
Okay.
That makes it even, so if we put a restriction on it, if we put a condition on it, then they would have, even though this is rudimentary, it would have to adhere to the condition that we placed. And you're getting a garage and that's all you're getting.
Well, can we put that restriction on?
We can't we?
That is
I
up
don't
to-
know I don't know that we're allowed to do that.
We can condition.
We can put a condition on
If
it.
the applicant accepts the condition, we can impose the condition.
Absolutely.
I just have a question. So when you initially bought the property, you realized that it wasn't a garage there. So now that you've had the property, what is the hardship that you need this garage? I just don't see.
We don't have a garage in our current house, and it's very hard to find an older home that's under $1 million in South Tampa that has a garage. A lot of people come in and just knock everything down and build $2-3 million homes, like the home behind us. That wasn't a financial option for us, but we did meet with contractors, architects, arborists, all of that before, and did our due diligence and planning before we purchased the home to make sure that it was something that we could comfortably and feasibly add on to the property that we can do. But it's a lot more expensive to buy a home that's already made versus buying an older home and accepting its quirks and just kind of adding on things that work for your family.
Okay.
Stephen, before you sit down, if there was no connecting corridor or addition that connected the garage to the home, it would no longer be part of the principal structure, it would now be an accessory structure. In this zoning district, that would reduce the rear yard setback to 5 feet, correct?
3 feet.
So with this, so say if this connecting piece here was not there,
Mm-hmm.
it would have the accessory structure setbacks, which are 3 feet from the rear.
3 feet.
And then the vehicle entrance would still apply because it is garage. So it would typically be set back 10 feet from the corner. But transportation has reviewed this and marked it as no objections.
No objection.
So they will have to address that with Jonathan and the culvert. That will all have to be addressed later on
Okay.
to not impact either
And for
property.
the accessory structure max height, which we were just hearing on a different one, is it 15 feet?
It
Is
is,
20 feet?
it is 15 feet for the max, from peak to peak of roof is 15 feet.
Okay.
So if the applicant decided to not connect them and do the addition off of where maybe the rear porch is, square off the home, they could almost build exactly this 2-car garage.
Yes.
Yeah, so of
They
this.
still need the setback for the vehicular.
For the vehicular, yeah.
That's the only variance they would need.
But I feel like that may be a drastically reduced ask versus something that is principal that could possibly be built to that height.
Do you understand what we're discussing? The fact that it's connected to the main house is why it's having to meet these setbacks. If it wasn't connected, 3 feet, you're good.
I know, and we really went back and forth about that, but again, we want to make a wheelchair ramp easy access into the garage, that we don't have to protect my father from the elements.
Okay.
So that's
And
where
that's
the
the real
3
reason.
feet came from. So we knew that if it was a separate accessory, an
Mm-hmm.
ADU, that 3 feet would be there. So there would be no reason for a neighbor to, they wouldn't even be able to object. But we have specific reasons why we would like it to connect to the structure.
So just playing devil's advocate here, looking at the site plan right now with looking at the extension, right? You with me? The back corner of that house, the cutout of the back corner of that house, there's no way that what your proposal regarding the garage and an ADU could not fit within that corner?
Wait, sorry, can you say it again?
Mm-hmm. So where your extension is,
Yeah.
right? Okay. You see the cutout of the back portion of your home?
Yeah.
Is there no way that the garage and what all you're wanting would fit into that corner?
So we haven't done any of the plan. When we first submitted this to Stephen, all I had was this right here, but it looked like an accessory dwelling unit, and we really did want it to be enclosed, whether that be a hallway or a room. And it kind of morphed into we need a mother-in-law suite. So this right here isn't set in stone because everything we do to the rest of the house will be completely within the building code limits. We are just asking for the variance for this. And then once we know what we can do with the back, then we can go back to the architect and kind of work on everything with him. We haven't done that at all yet.
Okay.
Okay.
So no, I'm just, so if all we're focusing on is the garage right now, and it's, you know, my fellow board members have indicated that they, you know, with a condition of not adding any height to that, and because we're not approving the connection between the two. We're just simply approving that square.
Mhm.
That's it.
And where it's placed.
And where it's placed, that's it. And technically, right, without that connection, they wouldn't need a variance.
That's right.
Right.
Well, they would only need it for the driveway.
drive.
They would only need it for the
Drive.
driveway.
So
They would
one other
not
thing.
need a variance for that
Right.
garage. So, and I don't wanna, I'm just trying to figure out why we're here.
Because it's important for us to have.
I
it
understand
connected.
that,
The
I
connection.
understand that, my dear, but you could do that without a variance,
You can make it 35 feet tall and
without a variance.
without having to come here.
Yeah, you could do it.
But it wouldn't be
Directly.
connected though, right?
But the connection is what is triggering all of this, correct?
Yes.
I would almost, I mean, it's totally up to you guys, but I would almost want, like, do you want more time to work with an engineer to potentially talk through some of
I
those
agree with you.
things where you could continue this? You don't, nothing would change about this, but it would give you some time to work through placement. Otherwise, I mean, I still support the condition.
I do too.
Yeah, I get the sense that if you're willing to, if you have to have the connector, we understand. But if you want to have the connector, that we would approve that in the setback that you're decreasing, the 20-foot setback, that you could only go up to 15 feet. So you would match what an accessory structure would do, which is typical, and I think that's the major complaint of your next door neighbor, is that there's this 35-foot wall 3 foot off their property line, which is a
Yeah, we've
legitimate
ne-
complaint.
Yeah,
It's a
we've
legitimate
never, I mean, the 35 feet, I have no
But that's
idea
what
where
legal-
that.
No, but
we
it,
approved
but
it
it
without
allows
condition.
you
could.
to.
You legally would
And
allow
if
to
we
do
put
that.
it, right, that's their problem, is that it would allow you to do that.
So we would like-
Potentially, if
What
we
I'm
don't.
hearing, I think, from our
Yep.
board is we would support if you would agree to limit it to a 15-foot height.
That's fine.
For that 25-foot back, we
Yeah,
can
that's fine.
condition this approval and approve it tonight.
And also, I think we need the variance for the driveway, right?
All three variances are, but I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it
I'm-
sounds
I'm-
like you have a support for that if you limit
And I
it.
think also the culvert, modifying the culvert too, right?
Yeah.
But that's not part of the variance tonight.
Okay.
No, and I'll be honest with you, I don't have a problem with the 3 feet, 3 feet and 35-foot high at all. Because the only thing that is making you come here is that connection, which affects them in absolutely no way whatsoever, okay? That inner portion, they would never see it. Well, that, you can make it whatever you want. And I do think that this lot does have some issues. I mean, first of all, the house is set back 10 feet further back than is required by code. This is a side street. Datura is very small, and the fact that you want to back up your car into it is far less offensive than if you were trying to come in off of Aline, whatever it's called. And you've got plenty of green space on here to do something else if you wanted to. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm saying that there is not a darn thing they can do to keep you from building that 35-foot building there if you don't connect the two.
If you don't connect them.
If you don't connect the
So
two.
an accessory dwelling can be 35 feet? I thought it was 15.
No, it's 15.
Well, I'm sorry, it's,
Yeah, I think we got.
if
I think
it's
we got
not
crossed.
connected,
So, from what I'm understanding from the board,
Yes,
any area within the 20-foot reduced setback will be limited to 15 feet.
correct.
That's correct. Anything beyond that 20-foot setback could be built at 35 feet.
thank you, yes.
Yes.
Per the code.
Correct.
Right,
Okay. The other part I want to make sure
Oh,
that
I
everybody
get
is
it.
aware
Okay.
of is the only area of encroachment that is approved at this time is the garage.
Correct.
This does not allow the building to extend to the full 3 feet all the way around.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Correct.
But we're not asking for that.
you'd still have to meet rear yard setback, which I
And
think is
I-
20 feet.
I want to make a point to something that I've heard from both the other party and actually up here. Whether a house has a garage or not when it's purchased, there are a lot of folks that come before us to ask for garages to be added, that we permit, that we allow. Just because it doesn't have one when you purchase it does not mean you cannot add one later. That's why you come here,
Right.
To ask us if we grant it based on whatever conditions that we determine as far as the hardship is concerned. So just because a house doesn't have a garage doesn't mean it can't,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And to your point, thank you, because if you get a house with a garage, it's probably new and it's probably $1.5 million more. for the
Right,
same
which is not a
square
hardship, I'll be
And-
honest with you.
Right, it's not
So-
something we can consider.
Right, that's not what we can consider. We take the facts and we take what's in front of us.
So.
Just like you can't have a pool screen because of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are not a hardship.
Yeah,
got
so
it.
that's why I'm
So, but
confused on.
just to understand, so the
What's the
part that
hardship?
goes in the
No, but
setback,
what-
the part that we're asking to extend to the setback cannot be higher than 15 feet. But
Correct.
everything within the normal setback could be higher, should that arise down the road.
Not if we put a condition on it. If we place a condition on that building,
Like the
Right.
whole house?
no,
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 the
no,
building,
just the-
what you're
the-
asking for.
Just the 20 feet from that rear yard setback.
So is it just from the 20 feet or is it for the whole garage?
You're asking for the garage, right?
Right now, your garage is, and I can't quite read this, looks like 23, 20, I can't, something, 24 feet maybe?
Yeah,
So if, and you've got 3 feet, so you're talking 27 feet, give or take. So 20 feet of that would, that setback would require a drop in the building height. But beyond that, you could build it 35 feet. So
Right.
this addition that you're proposing, that ties the buildings together, the same restriction would apply to that.
Okay, I understand. And that's what we
So
are asking for.
are you accepting
want-
of a condition that says it approves with a condition that the height of any structure within the 20-foot rear setback reduction is limited to 15 feet?
Yes.
Or you
Yes.
wanna.
Or do you wanna continue it,
You wanna
like
continue
Simone
it and-
suggested?
No, that's fine.
You're sure?
Yeah.
Okay,
And we'll come back if we need to. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully that'll be fine.
okay.
Okay,
Okay.
We'll close public hearing, and, anybody ready to make a motion?
Sure.
Thank God it's not me.
All right, I propose for approval with conditions, move that the variance request for case VRB 26-60 located at 3301 West Aline Avenue, as depicted on the site plan presented for public hearing for a reduction in the side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet, and a reduction in the vehicular entrance setback from 10 feet to 3 feet, and a reduction in the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 3 feet, be approved with the following conditions. That the rear yard setback, which was reduced from 20 feet to 3 feet, be limited to a height of 15 feet maximum for that 20-foot setback reduction. Based upon, that's a variance of condition granted based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence from the record, public hearing for unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty, considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in 27-80 of the city code, specifically that there are multiple grand oak trees and they're preserving the existing home.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll call a question. All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed likewise? It's 4-2, so your motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
And if we have no further business, we are adjourned.